the passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.
There's no problem from the other aldermen. Item 11A7, the airport authorization to appoint Rodney Lincoln to the position of airport manager on a volunteer, uncompensated basis, to the consent agenda.
Okay. Any objection to moving item 11A7, authorization of Rodney Lincoln to the position of airport manager on a volunteer, uncompensated basis, to the consent agenda? Is there any objection? Any objection? Okay. Further revision? Are there any further proposed revisions to the agenda? Any further revisions?
One other that I'd like to move to the consent agenda if we could, and that is item XG, the consideration of the approval of the contract with budget for the rental of office space at George M. Bryan Field to the consent agenda. I think that just formalizes the agreement that we discussed last meeting.
All right, the proposed revision is moving item 10G to the consent agenda. Is there any objection? Any objection? Seeing none. Are there any further proposed revisions to the agenda or the consent agenda? Any further proposed revisions? All right. Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda would be in order.
Mayor and Board, move approval of the official agenda as presented. Changes, Sandra.
Motion has been made to approve the official agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. This measure clearly passes. Next matter is the consideration consent agenda as written. Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved as written and as revised. Okay, next matter of business is the consideration of the approval of the minutes from the July 27th meeting.
Mayor and Board, move approval.
Motion has been made to approve the minutes as presented from the July 27th, 2009 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter for discussion is request for consideration of the approval of the August 3rd minutes.
Move approval, August 3rd, 2009 minutes.
Motion has been made by Alderman Corey to approve the August 3rd, 2009 minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. This measure clearly passes. Next, we'll move to announcements and comments. Do we have our Boy Scouts here?
I don't see him.
I don't see them either. Well, I'll go on and congratulate them, and perhaps at a later date they can be introduced. But I would like to congratulate the following members of Troop 14 of the Pushmataha Area Council. All three of these individuals have just earned their Eagle Scout. That is Eric Bickford, Andrew Schulz, and Freddie Williams. We want to congratulate them on this fine achievement. Now I'd like to introduce our newest member of the city workforce. Jonathan Henry is here, and he is the new engineering assistant. We welcome you aboard. Next, have a presentation that I believe is going to be made by Eric Parker. Alderman Parker, are you going to present the recycling bags?
Oh, yeah, sure. I am. As we all know, we voted about a month ago to authorize the purchase of the green recycling bags for our recycling program for the city of Starkville. And they are here, and we began sign up on Saturday at the market. Ms. Boyd told me a minute ago that we've already signed up 273 people to the recycling program, which is a great start. I think we had almost 200 just at the farmers market on Saturday. So I think there was a lot of people waiting on this and excited about this, and we're going to use the entire month of August. Entire month of September to continue to sign people up. October 7th will be our first pickup date. So the procedure will be, as long as the farmers market continues to go through September. So we will continue to sign people up on Saturdays at the farmers market. You could also go down to the sanitation department to sign up. What the information that you'll need will be your some identification and a electric bill, water bill, sewer bill, something that shows that you're a resident of the city of Starkville. This recycling program will be for single-family residents. So if you currently have curbside pickup of your garbage, you will be eligible for the recyclable program. At this point, we're not doing apartments or anything of that nature right now, but we're starting out with all single-family homes. Owning or renting is basically, if you get picked up on a curbside garbage with a bag, then you're eligible for this program. So we're really excited about it. I think we've got everything. We've got some things on the agenda tonight that will help finalize some of our contracts and the way we're going to do things. But when you come to sign up, you will get a do's and don'ts list. You'll get a schedule of when you can put your bags out. Basically, we'll pick up every household every other week, and you will also get a list of acceptable materials that are going to be that you can place in the bag, and you'll put everything in the bag, tie the bag, put it at the curb, and then it will go. If our contract's approved tonight, to start for recycling, and they will open the bag and sort everything and disperse it as it needs to go properly. So we're very excited about this program. I know it's been a year in coming, and we're very excited to get it started in October.
Oh, Alderman Parker, I want to say thanks to you and Ms. Boyd, Mr. Sheridan, and the members of the recycling committee, past and present, for taking the lead in getting this program off the ground. And I do want to note that I think having looked at what others are doing in the area of curbside recycling, I think this is a rather innovative approach that we're taking here in Starkville, and all of you that have come together to push forward on it are to be commended. Next, we'll move to board comments, and the only one that I have listed is from Alderman Carver.
Thank you, Mayor. In cooperation with the Starkville Park and Recs Commission, the Starkville Board of Aldermen is pleased to announce a Name the Park competition, and this is for the park that's on the Avenue of Patriots and the Whitfield intersection. As most of y'all know, this is once a blighted area, and I think the park's a wonderful use for the constituents in Ward 1 and all over the city. Often see a lot of kids and parents down there playing, and this is just something a lot of people want to have this park named. So what it is, it's a deadline of September the 24th. These are the registration or the sign-up sheets. There are 3 choices on here, and then also if you just got an original idea, we've heard a lot of different ideas thrown out. There will be a $100 award, and also your name will be included on the sign to be constructed. Again, the deadline is September the 24th, and there will be a ribbon cutting announced afterwards. We'll have elected officials and different park commission officials out there. And also just about that park, some of the things coming up, also the park commission has plans to finish fencing in the park, upgrading the flower bed, and adding a sign that would distinguish the park And in long-term plans, I think there needs to be a water fountain in the restrooms, and we'll talk about that as time goes on. But I will put these outside in the hall, and then also if you need to pick them up, you can call Matthew Ride and pick them up at the Sportsplex on Lynn Lane. So I'll put these outside.
And Alderman Carver, want to thank you and the Parks Commission and the Park staff for all you are doing for what has become a very nice addition to our city and was a historical blighted area. I think your efforts are to be commended, and those of the Parks Commission and the staff for moving forward on making that area as good as it can possibly be.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be recognized.
Alderman Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, just some brief comments. Let me say that I would like to express some thoughts regarding my concerns on the city's budget that are timely, given the presentation and subsequent requests of the MSU Student Affairs President, Mr. Jeter, and the request of the approval of the annual budget for the 2% funds from Dr. Broyles and Dr. Kibler. It is obvious that our city is in a difficult financial situation. Even the smallest request place pressure on the general fund in ways that can be detrimental to the operation of our city. The request of the $9,000 plus of in-kind support from the promoters of Bulldog Bash has in the past received my support, but due to the increased amount of 2% funds to MSU, I believe that the cost of the city services should be paid for by those monies made available for student activities from the portion of the 2% food and beverage tax directed to Mississippi State University. I'm also going to request that this board take up the matter of seeking a change to the legislation that outlines the disbursement of the 2% monies. At the first meeting in October 2009, public hearing to be held at the second meeting in October 2009 for a public hearing to be held at this for the purpose of changing the percentages that are provided to the receiving entities. It is my sincere hope that this board will favorably consider a resolution to the Mississippi Legislature requesting a redistribution of those funds to reflect an increase to the city of Starkville, and therefore a more direct impact to the citizens of Starkville from the funds of this taxing source. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And just to speak a little bit about some of the points that were made, Alderman Perkins, you and I, of course, have had some discussions about this, and actually have had some discussions in staff meetings about the number of special events that are growing, which is a good thing, but also the demand for service that's required. I think sometime in the future, a discussion about our policy concerning how we provide those services is in order. I do not feel it is appropriate to discuss, I guess, ending the customary practice of providing the in-kind services for Bulldog Bash at this time, for the basic reason that their event is less than a month away. Their budget is fairly well set. This is the first time this has been discussed, and I feel it would have the effect of pulling the rug out from under an event, since this is something that has always been customarily provided. However, I think your point is well made. From a general budgetary standpoint, we would do well to look holistically at how we provide services for special events in the future. Further comments? All right, we'll move to citizen comments.
Good evening to the mayor and board, our Alderman Vaughn and Vice Mayor Citron. The citizens, and we still holding our own, but we still have our back against the wall. But we're going to do the best we can. It's a hard thing when you don't have liver lung, or kidney. You cannot live without those organs. Alcohol eats those organs up. It makes our mothers for against drunk driving feel mighty bad that we are going to accept something that brings detriment to them. The people also is getting mighty afraid of the incident that happened on Main Street, the purse snatch. People getting mighty afraid of that. And we getting in a time of year where alcohol make people very depressed, and they will do things that they wouldn't do. The people are feeling that they will have to have mace or something to protect themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Further citizen comments?
Mayor and Board, Jim Gafford, Ward 5, and I'm also the chair of the Sidewalk Committee. I just want to bring your attention real quickly to an article that's been recently published in various outlets called Walking the Walk, How Walkability Raises Housing Values in U.S. Cities. Just to summarize what this report says, essentially is if we will invest in having a more accessible city, having better sidewalks and more connectivity, essentially it will raise home values as well as increasing the tax base for the city. And just a couple of quick quotes just to kind of shed a light on really what we're trying to do with the Sidewalk Committee. And I think that sums it up best when it says this is not about having people live without cars. I think that's something that has been shined on what we do. This is not what we're about at all. We're not about having people live without cars. Rather, it's about giving an option for people to drive less often. So it's really about giving people more options. And I also like to point out that another quote is, if urban leaders are intentional about developing and redeveloping their cities to make them more walkable, it will not only enhance local tax base, but also contribute to individual wealth by increasing the value of what is for most people their biggest asset. Essentially, people want accessibility. They want to be able to walk from their homes if they choose, and that in turn increases home values. So it's not just about some altruistic viewpoint that we live in a world without cars. It's really about quality of life and increasing the value of the assets that we have. As a Sidewalk Committee, we're working very hard to find creative ways to improve the accessibility of our city, and all I'm doing is asking and encouraging you to continue using conventional means to do that, especially as we're going through the budgeting process. I know this is a difficult time and money is tight, but it's something that I think we can't afford to not invest in for the future of our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gafford. Do you have copies that you'd like?
I don't, but I can
Okay.
send them to you if you'd like to have them.
Okay, I'd appreciate it.
All right.
Further citizen comments?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Ron Palmer. I'm in Ward 1. As alderman for the city of Starkville, you swear an oath that requires you to faithfully support the Constitution of the United States. The First Amendment to that Constitution states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. I was flabbergasted and frankly offended by some of the remarks made here last month during the discussion on Sunday alcohol sales. In particular, the opinion that there should be a law requiring that everyone be in church on Sunday morning. The United States of America is the greatest country in the world because it has patriots like Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and Crispus Attucks, not because everyone is required to be in church on Sunday morning. The United States of America is the greatest country in the world because it has produced great thinkers such as Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Stephen Jay Gould, and Daniel Dennett, not because everyone is required to be in church on Sunday morning. The United States of America is the greatest country in the world because it has produced great jurists such as Louis Brandeis, Benjamin Cardozo, Thurgood Marshall, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, not because everyone is required to be in church on Sunday morning. As the Statue of Liberty lifts her lamp beside the Golden Door, welcoming any and all who need refuge, the United States of America is the greatest country in the world because it has attracted great scientists from other lands, such as Enrico Fermi and Albert Einstein, not because everyone is required to be in church on Sunday morning. The United States of America is the greatest country in the world because we have been to the mountaintop and produced great civil rights advocates such as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwimmer, not because everyone is required to be in church on Sunday morning. Enacting such legislation is not something any of these eminent men and women would do. And judging from my reading of the Gospels, it is certainly not something Jesus would do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Further citizen comments? Are there any further citizen comments? Further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move into our public appearances. First public appearance is from Bill Broyles, Bill Kibler, and Blake Jeter on behalf of Mississippi State presenting the 2% budget.
I think we know most of you, but my name is Bill Kibler. This is Blake Jeter, student body president at Mississippi State, and Bill Broyles. Bill and I work in the vice president for student affairs office, and I believe you have this handout in your materials. It is the essence of what we have to present, but just a couple of comments before we begin. This is now the 5th year that we've proposed a distribution of the 2% food and beverage tax that's allocated to MSU, with the interest that be allocated primarily for the interest of activities that support what students are doing on our campus. Filled a great void when that became a source of funding that allowed students to pursue the development of programs that we've had from the beginning, a primary focus on those being activities and programs that not only benefited students but also the city of Starkville as well. And so, and that I believe has been that history primarily, and that's what you see here very quickly. Music Maker Productions is the student organization on our campus that provides entertainment events, not only for students but for the entire community, and even puts together concerts that attracts people from across the state and sometimes outside the state. You're all familiar with Bulldog Bash, and I think Blake's going to talk about Bulldog Bash a little later, but this $37,000 of this amount is allocated to support Bulldog Bash, which becomes essentially seed money every year because the students, as Blake I'm sure will report to you, spend a great deal of time raising an enormous amount of money. $37,000 doesn't come close to the full cost of producing that free event that once again attracts folks to the city, not only from our community but across the state and from out of state. We're expecting a number of visitors from the state of Louisiana this year to come to Bulldog Bash. The night route, I believe you're all familiar with as well, which has been a dramatic success, gets bigger every year, is intended to provide a twofold purpose to bring students to the city on weekends, to primarily downtown, but a few other areas as well for restaurants and other establishments, but also not add to the already congested conditions of too many vehicles in those areas. So if they're being transported by bus there and back again, they can leave their vehicles on the campus or wherever. Old Main Music Festival is our spring concert. Once again, this is just sort of seed money that helps those students put that together. And most of you are familiar with the Lyceum series, which is the performing primarily the performing arts series that the university puts on each year, that really provides an attractive arts venue for students, faculty, staff, community members, and others as well. And so this is based on the projection, as you'll see the little box at the bottom. In consultation, Mr. Broyles, in consultation with city staff, ended up believing that the revenue projection for our portion this coming year would be $260,000. There was a $7,000 surplus from this last year that was applied to Bulldog Bash this year. total allocation, $267,000. We are certainly open to any questions that anyone has.
Question.
I don't have a question, Mr. Mayor. I just got a comment about the night ride. I was gonna say, I commend y'all on that and actually being out and seeing the number of students that are transported and giving some of them an available ride that needs a ride. I want to commend you on that program and for promoting the safety of the students late at night.
It's bigger every year, and given our increased enrollment, we're already setting new ridership records this year, so we're off to another bang-up year.
Alderman Carter, if I might, last spring, we carried 22,000 students on the night route, which was different from spring of 2008, where we carried 10,000 students. So you can see it's astronomically going up with no end in sight. We've even added additional routes and additional buses during our peak periods this year. So, nothing but good things going on.
Further question?
Do you have numbers about attendance at the other events too? I think I've read that Bulldog Bash is in the 30,000 range that you expect for it.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, it's not a ticketed event, so
Right.
the attendance at Bulldog Bash is always just an estimate.
I understand.
Given the game that it's scheduled before this year and the performers that our students have attracted, we believe we'll set a new all-time record this year for Bulldog Bash.
Who are your performers?
Third Eye Blind is the main act, and then the rest are local acts that are from this area.
But approximately 30,000 has been the estimate, for instance, of what we had last year, so.
Are there further questions? Any further questions? Okay. Well, thank you all for the presentation. Mr.
pleasure.
Jeter, I believe you stay.
I think I stay.
Dr. Kibler and Mr. Broyles,
Thank you very much for your time.
And Mr. Jeter is now going to make a presentation asking the city for approval of city-funded in-kind services for Bulldog Bash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, I'm Blake Jeter, I'm the president of the Student Association this year, and thank you all for letting me be with you. This is actually the 10th annual Bulldog Bash. It's hard to believe that 10 years have passed since the start of this event, and it's grown astronomically over the years. This is probably, I think if you ask most students, the biggest student event of the year, and it's probably one of the most looked forward to student events of the year. Talking with agents and people around the South as we planned this event, I think the consensus was you'd be hard-pressed to find an event in this area, a free event that is the size and as success as this event is, and hopefully after 10 years it'll keep getting better. This year we've been able to attract probably the biggest band we've ever had. Third Eye Blind was a big band back in the late 1990s, and they just came out with a new album. We're actually going to be the first stop on their 2009 tour. So we really think that more so than any years past, we're going to be seeing people from all over come. We have partnered with 24 local and corporate companies for sponsorships. We took the $37,000 that were allocated to us through the 2% food and beverage tax and have matched that and surpassed it with $54,000 we've raised from local businesses, the city of Starkville, and from corporate sponsors. AT&T has given us $7,500 to sponsor our main stage, so we're starting to attract some bigger corporate sponsors who want to get involved. So it says a lot for the progress of this event. Last year, the total budget for the event, including the $30,000 we got from the city, was $65,000. This year, we're going to be around $90,000. We're taking the seed money from the 2% food and beverage tax and really trying to get out there and raise money. We came up with some really good-looking packages this year, trying to amp up, and it really did pay off. We've raised about $20,000 more than we have in the past, and so it's really saying a lot about the direction of the event and how people are starting to buy into what the event's doing. But of the 24 sponsors, almost none are more vital than the support that we get from the city. As Alderman Perkins said, that there's about $9,000 to $10,000 that have traditionally been in in-kind services given from the city to help this event out and do it without you. This September 1st, the event will be on September 25th, which is the Friday night before LSU travels here. So we're believing with the act that we have and with the type of SEC team we're playing, the excitement from football season, and we're also running radio spots in Jackson and Baton Rouge and some places around. We're trying to attract more people from outside of the Golden Triangle area to get to this event. So we really think this will have
a potential to surpass any year we've had in the past. And an additional note for this, since it was the 10th annual Bulldog Bash, we decided that we wanted to try to give back with all the support that we do get. So we're taking this event. We're going to try to give back to the United Way. One of the things we've done, we've partnered with the local United Way and cell phone providers in the area, and we're going to stop the concert at some point on Friday night and ask the crowd to take out their cell phones and text NC Miss, North Central Miss, to United on their cell phones, and $5 will be donated to the United Way off their cell phone bills. It's a new, innovative way that people can donate quick, and it's been just in the last few years. There are artists that do this thing on their tours, and about 10 to 12, 15% of the crowd normally text back. So we're thinking with the type of crowd we have there, we could have the potential to raise $5,000, $10,000 for United Way while we're doing it. So we think this is a really good thing that we can use the people that come together in the student body to have a fun event, but also give back to the city at the same time. So we'll be doing that at some point during the night, either before the main act goes on or during the main act, and we hope that we can raise a couple $1,000s for United Way while we're doing it. So that's a little extra thing we're doing this year in honor of the 10th annual. I would be welcome to any questions you have. Thank you for consideration on the in-kind services. We would greatly appreciate it, and I'll take any questions that you have.
Questions for Mr. G? Any questions?
I've got a comment.
Alderman Davis.
Blake, I've had the pleasure of working with you on campus. I appreciate your leadership with this. This is an event we look forward to, my family, every year. So I commend you on what it has become. It's a phenomenal event when you see what happens and transforms into the streets of the Cotton District. And I think it's a great thing for the city. I hear great things about it. I've got friends in Baton Rouge who are planning to come up just for the event. They could care less about the game. But nonetheless, I really respect what you're doing. I appreciate this, and thanks for doing it.
Further questions, comments? Alderman Carter.
Board will let me like to ask Chief Lemley a question. I guess with this concert, the main issue we'll have is crowd control. And just, do you have any special concerns, and is your department prepared enough to handle?
Yes, it's basically the same thing. Be prepared. We're going to follow the same technique.
If I can say something, make a comment. Fortunately for this event, we haven't had any type of really big safety situations or crowd control issues in the past. It's been very congested, but with the act we're going to have, we're going to be hiring extra. We have, in addition to the police department helping out, we do hire our own individuals, T-shirt security, to help out with the event. We're going to be hiring more this year to help out with the crowd control, especially with LSU coming in and with the additional requirements from the artists. So we're going to be hiring, I think, 3 or 4 more security than normal. So we hope that'll take care of any kind of crowd control issues we might have.
Further questions, comments?
What time we want to close the street? Is it in the events?
6 a.m. Well, we start setting up the main stage at about 6 or 7 a.m. that morning.
Yeah, I see 7 to 1, so I'm guessing.
So we'll block off. Well, actually, this year's gonna be slightly different than last year because we're moving the stage slightly down, so we're not gonna have to block Maxwell Street as early as we did in the past. So it'll only affect the area in between Maxwell and Bulldog Deli.
So the stage will move closer to downtown.
Move closer to campus.
Closer to campus.
Yes. We changed it up in the package.
So Maxwell Street will be behind the stage.
Actually, the stage is moving down about a few couple yards and facing Ben 612. Well, the reason why we did it is that area right next to Ben 612 is about 40 feet wide, and it gets a real bad bottleneck right there between that and the houses, and there's almost no way to get an ambulance in there or any type of safety there. So we're going to move it down right adjacent to Bulldog Deli, back facing campus and front facing Ben 612. And it's going to have about 46 feet wide. It's going to be able to have an ambulance come into the side, and it'll be a little bit wider at the front. And what that'll do is we won't have to block Maxwell off and the grill off so early, but wait till after lunch when we start setting up for fanfare, jumpers, things for the community. So that'll alleviate some problems there.
Further questions, comments? Alderman Carver.
Does the MSU Student Association assist in the sanitation or picking up of the trash afterwards?
Yeah, we do our own little sweep with all of our members after for an hour or two, and then I think the city comes in. We try to pick up all the big things we see. We go with many trash bags and things. We go through and we pick up as much as we can, as much as we see, and then I think the street sweepers come in and do their work after that.
Further questions, comments? Are there any further questions or comments? Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Diddy.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next public appearance is by Dan Moreland and Matthew Rye on behalf of the Parks Commission and the Parks staff, presenting their quarterly report in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 21-37-34. Mr. Moreland.
Matthew's wife is having surgery tomorrow, so he's at the hospital in Columbus, so he won't be with us tonight. Mr. Mayor, I'm appearing on here twice. Would it be all right if I group them, and basically for the same thing? Would it be all right if I group them together?
Yes.
Okay. I think in your package you'll find a report for the activity at the park. I'm not going over all of the numbers and all, but really I was disappointed this morning. I met with one of the aldermen, and I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't familiar with the stuff that goes on at the park. We got move and float. He didn't know what that was. We got flirty girls over 18 and up. He didn't know what that was either, but I didn't either. What it is, and Mr. Parker was down there, we just kind of give him a hard time. But that's some type of dance that Lisa does for all the people, and for some different age groups. But it's if you see the activity there, it's we got line dancing, square dancing, quilting, all of this type of stuff, and it's in your report here. Our gym has picked up. We had 65, average of 65 daily walkers. Now it's up to 80. 45 participants in the gym and racquetball. That's after school started. Now that cut down considerably after that started. And if you'll turn over to the last one of the back pages there, it tells all the tournaments that we've had. We've had 10 different tournaments, and fortunately they've got most of them in because of the weather. It's been a lot of rain. Of course, the rain helped us on the grass and everything down there. I don't think we've been able to pay the water bill had it not rained like it did. We have met with the mayor, city clerks, Mr. McAlpin, and what we would like to do is what we voted on to do and pass unanimous to hire our own accountant. Mr. McAlpin doesn't see any problem with this. We are the $95,000 for administrative fees will shut the doors at the park. We can't afford it, and plus the 2.5% that everybody's going to be cut. We would have to change it up and quit. We couldn't do it. We feel like we can do everything that the city does for us for $25,000. We got Mr. Roger Smith. He's met with Mr. McAlpin, and we've gone over all of the things that we have. Will not affect the insurance. Will not affect retirement for the park people. That was the main thing we was concerned about. But we hope to get that up and going and save us a lot of money on that, because with that kind of a cut, with the 2.5% that everybody's being cut plus the $95,000, we just couldn't operate. That's $125,000, and we can't operate like that. One other thing I'd like to ask is the transfer of money from our 2%, and you'll find that in there on the first page, I believe. We need to pay off Maloof, and we owe a balance to Maloof of $97,000, a little over $97,000 and change. Schaefer to 36, bringing it to $100,942.47. We got the balance in the account to pay that of $68,302, leaving a deficit of $32,640. All right, in our 2% account, we have approximately $440,000, and our payment has already been made for this year, payment, principal and interest. I understand that the 2% was a little bit decreased this time, probably for the first time ever, but as the pendulum swings, it's going to swing back the other way, and I think it'll be fine. This would not jeopardize a payment in the future, and all it's doing is transferring under the first 2%. You couldn't use it for anything, park improvements, anything like that. The second one, you can. It was a little more liberal. You can use it for parking, anything pertaining to parking improvements. But that would still give a amount of $407,536 to build on through the end of the fiscal year, plus we've already made our payments on it. Has anybody got any questions?
Question. Mr. Moore, you mentioned there's a second matter that you want to bring to our attention. You just want to take care of this one first, or?
Yeah, I was just on the first matter was just the initial report that we were required to make.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Y'all have any questions on that? And the second matter is the transferring of the $32,640.36 from the 2% into the account so we can settle up and square up on a building.
I've got a few questions. When you say hire an accountant, will that individual be responsible? You say it won't be responsible for insurance and retirement. That will remain in the city clerk's office.
We will pay that in ourselves too.
That what you take?
Yeah.
Okay.
It won't be separate. Now I understand that the insurance is coming up due, and under the Blue Cross deal, they covered the park as a separate entity because they cover it under the umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
But it's depend on who the new carrier is, but I think that's something that would have to be negotiated to make sure it stays under there, because we certainly don't want to do anything to jeopardize the insurance or the retirement for the people.
Okay. So with the hiring of an accountant, insurance, retirement, payroll, and the claims docket activity will go under the purview of that accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And y'all would receive a copy of everything that that went on down there. Mr. McAlvin, do you see any problems with this at all?
No, sir. Further questions, comments?
I want to be real sure about this. This is the final payment on the sportsplex, so.
Now, this payment also includes the lighting of the parking lot, and landscaping, all that was not in the original contract. So this is by cutting and slicing and all, we saved enough money to do that. But this will be pay off in a loop that will end the thing, and then we'll be drawing strictly on our 2%. That'll be the last draw that we'd have to do to get everything back into the 2%.
Further questions, comments? Are there any further questions or comments? Further questions? Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next order of business is a public hearing. And at this time, I will open the public hearing for the budget of the city of Starkville in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 21-35-5. Before we move into the public comment portion of the public hearing, I do want to make a few comments generally about where budget discussions have moved at this point. Many of you are probably aware, because it's been reported in the newspaper, that I, along with the city clerk's office and the chief administrative officer, had worked to address the current shortfall in revenues that has arisen as a result of state auditor guidance that our former practice of collecting 3% revenues from enterprise funds was not the right way to collect that revenue. However, that one thing we could do that we had not previously been in the practice of doing was the electric department can waive utility fees for the city. When those figures were calculated after the first budget proposal was prepared in early August, we were left with a new revenue gap of approximately $408,000. The city clerk's office prepared, after lengthy discussions, a description of what we felt were the three most viable options for filling that $408,000 gap in the budget. And those have been discussed now at some length by the aldermen. The first was an overhaul of the sanitation program that would result in a balanced budget with an additional program of litter control being added to the sanitation department, which would be under the heading of environmental services. And the idea was to get our landscaping operation in-house with a new revamped litter control operation. Of course, the net result of that would have been a $3 sanitation fee increase. That option, of course, this is just me assessing general board sentiment, has received some favorable review, but much of the sentiment I've heard more recently is that maybe a bit quick on making such a programmatic change like that. An option that was produced that I really haven't gauged any favorable sentiment on was a 2.45 millage rate increase, which would have filled most of the gap. This, again, is just me gauging board sentiment, and unless I'm completely wrong, I don't think that is a direction where the board is headed. An option that seems to have a good bit of support is using a one-time surplus that is available in the event that positions within various departments of the city, which city department heads have indicated could possibly be frozen, are in fact frozen. In that event, that creates enough of a surplus that can be transferred into the general budget to fill the gap. That is, again, with the disclaimer, that is my assessment of the situation, but I thought perhaps it might give us a good starting point for public comment in the public hearing on the budget. At this point, I'll open the floor for comments from the public, and we will keep with the standard practice of a maximum of 3 minutes on each individual comment for a total comment period not to exceed 30 minutes.
To the mayor and board.
Oh, and could you state your name and ward?
To the mayor and board, my name is Alvin Turner, Ward 7, Alderman Vaughn. Our understanding was the previous board left us balance of $1 million, if we correct. This freezing and combining is freaking people out. Our party, we got $1 million left from the last board. While we putting things together like that, if we have $1 million surplus, but it really is on the edge of a lot of people. And you feel like that when a situation like this, you can't be neutral. You either for it, against it, give us the best of your ability, what's best for Starkville.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Mr. Mullen.
Richard Mullen, that's what. Would you clarify something? Have the previous board raised taxes, wanted to increase taxes, is that correct? Has that kicked in yet, as opposed to, when we start paying our taxes in February? Last February?
The 3.4 mils,
It will
yes.
kick in January.
Yes, so no, it's kicked. It was in the previous year's budget.
Last year.
Yeah, and that 3.4 mils it has, and in this current presentation, is going solely for the purpose of streets. So while it is additional revenue, it's not additional operational revenue.
Thank you.
Further comment? Are there further citizen comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into the board discussion portion of the public hearing. And as I noted at the work session yesterday, in order to realistically have the general budget proposal done, the board, for practical purposes, really needs to direct the city clerk's office on one of these options so that they can begin the process of actually keying all the numbers in. The way their software package works, you only get one product where it can all be keyed in, and that's a pretty tedious process. Discussion. Alderman Cicero.
There are two comments I'd like to make about option 2, which I think I'm probably going to suggest that we look at. The primary difference between option 1 and option 2 is the establishment of the Environmental Services Department, and I think we felt that while it's a good idea and concept and one that we'd certainly like to follow up on, it's maybe not something that we should do in reaction to a budget crisis, but that we should look at it as a standalone project. That said, in option 2, we show outside contribution cuts of $33,000, and with those cuts having a $44,000 excess in revenues over expenses for the year. I'd like for us, if we consider option 2, to restore those outside contribution cuts, to remove that from this particular option. And I would also like for us to reclassify some amount within the street department's budget, and I'm going to suggest that we use the $50,000 that's been used in the past, simply reclassify it to show it clearly as a separate line for ADA compliance issues, things such as sidewalks, curb cuts, things that would help us meet the federally required ADA compliance issues that face our community.
Further discussion? Alderman Carter.
Just got a question. I guess the city attorney can answer this. And I'm not against a hiring freeze, but can you do a hiring freeze for enterprise funds to turn around and put those funds back into the general fund? Because like the hiring freeze we're considering in Board Business C has water and public services, which are enterprise fund departments. Can those funds be in turn put back into the general fund?
The city clerk might be the best one to help me fill this question. She has had extensive conversations with the state auditor's office, and understanding that it was through those conversations that this possibility emerged. Ms. Outlaw.
I've spoken with the state auditor's office regarding this particular issue, and his comment was that if there is a surplus, if the city issues a hiring freeze, then and that includes all departments, and surplus exists or is created from that, then whatever surplus there is can be recouped by the general fund.
Mr. McAlpin, do you have anything you'd like to supplement that way?
I don't think so. I think as long as you're complying with what they're telling you, you're okay.
Further discussion? Is there any further discussion?
Parker,
Alderman Ford.
I just want to, in essence, echo Sandra's sentiments because she pretty much said the same basic things that I was going to say in regards to this. If you're asking for just an informal poll, I would say option 2 would be the one I would want to see run with those, in particular, those recommendations that Sandra had. I do think, though, I do want to repeat what I said yesterday in that one of the things that we are going to have to do as a board is really look at what we're going to do for next year because this might get us through this year, but we're still going to be faced with this problem year after year. So I just think we need to be mindful of that over the course of the upcoming year.
Okay. And for discussion purposes, I would prefer, and I think the city clerk's office would prefer, formally give them some direction. Obviously, this isn't formally adopting a budget.
The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your health care needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in health care.
To run up a budget with the recommendations presented in option 2 of the budget outline before us with the recommended change that Sandra had regarding the outside contribution fund.
And the ADA.
Oh, and the ADA line item.
Okay, for clarity's sake on the motion, I'd rather you not reference the comments made by somebody else, and I know you may not have them, so.
Okay.
It's hard to capture.
You want me to repeat?
Yeah, just the substance of.
All right, I would move then that we direct the city clerk's office to construct a budget based on the recommendations in option 2 of the budget outline with the change that the outside contribution cuts be restored to last year's level and that separate line items for ADA compliance be created. Is that?
Okay, hold on. I know this is, it seems silly, but there's. Okay. Does the deputy clerk have a motion? All right. Do each of the aldermen understand the motion that's been made?
Yes.
Okay. Let's make short in this process. All right. Do I hear a second?
Could we have it reread?
Yes. As soon as the deputy clerk's finished writing.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, the motion as I understood was to create a line item for ADA. We have a line item for ADA. If you wish to put some money
To
in it.
reclassify that. That's what I want to be sure is in the motion.
So you want to restore the line
To
item?
reclassify
To
it from,
reclassify.
from streets to the ADA compliance line.
Okay, hold on.
Last year's level. Reclassify the streets.
From streets to
From
the.
streets. To ADA.
50 is what I was fixed
Alderman Corey, the motion that the deputy clerk has transcribed is a motion to direct the city clerk to run a budget as recommended in option 2 of the budget outline with the outside contributions restored at last year's level and reclassify from streets to ADA. Is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Do we need to specify a dollar amount? Reclassify 50,000.
All right, hold on. Either the motion seconded or not. Do I hear a second on the motion? Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Seeing none, motion fails for 1 second. Now, back into general discussion. And I'm sorry for nuancing some of the stuff, otherwise we lose it. So now, if y'all want to hash some of it out and then get a motion out of it.
I would like to propose the same motion with the addition of an amount of $50,000 being reclassified from the streets line to the ADA compliance line.
So reclassified to the ADA in the amount of $50,000?
Okay. Alderman Sistrunk has made a motion to direct the city clerk to run a budget as recommended in option 2 of the budget outline with the outside contributions restored at last year's level and reclassify from streets to ADA the amount of $50,000. Alderman Sistrunk, is that your motion?
I think so.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Sistrunk, do you wish to speak on the merits of your motion?
No, thank you.
Discussion. Is there any discussion on Alderman Sistrunk? Alderman Perkins.
Just one question. Ms. Clark, once we restore that outside contribution to last year's level, what dollar amount are we putting back in there? Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you. That's all I want to know.
Further discussion. Alderman Carter.
Maybe what he's asking, what's the dollar amount that will be in excess of our budget if we go with this motion? 11,000, is that correct?
$10,998.
Further discussion. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote on the motion, which I will not reread as it has been sufficiently read. Please signify by saying yea, nay, or abstain as the deputy clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver?
Nay.
Alderman Sistrunk?
Yay.
Alderman Parker?
Yay.
Alderman Corey?
Yay.
Alderman Dumas?
Yay.
Alderman Perkins?
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn?
Yay.
By a vote of 6 in favor with 1 against and 0 abstentions, this measure passes. Are there any more comments or discussion before we close the public hearing? Any more discussion on the budget? Discussion? Discussion? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. We'll now move into mayor's business. And the first order of business is the consideration for the acceptance of the authorization for the mayor to execute the CDBG grant for the construction of a fire station to be located on Reed and Highway 25 South. This is the CDBG block grant that many of you have been reading about in the paper. Certainly, aldermen have been discussing in previous boards also. This is something that is very exciting development for our city, and would like to thank Bill Spencer from the Planning and Development District for all of her hard work seeing this into fruition, and so I hope that you will allow me to authorize acceptance of the grant. Any discussion? Alderman Court.
Phyllis, since you're here, do you have any comments regarding this grant you might like to make before we move forward with it?
Nothing other than congratulations. The state received $8 million in community development block grant and coverage funds. So you received almost $1 million. So I would applaud yourselves for the decision that you made to move forward with this project. It's an exciting time. The previous board worked to develop a list of projects that they would like to see. The governor wanted to take projects that were CDBG eligible but wouldn't traditionally be funded due to the rating factors. Your project fit the bill. It was just my job to document the need and prove that this is a viable project. And I hope that you will allow me to see this project through.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Alderman Sistro.
I have just a couple of questions for Chief Mann. Can you tell us a little bit about when the station will be completed and when we'll be hiring new firemen, that sort of thing?
Alderman Sistro, I don't expect the building to be ready to move in until sometime in October, November next year.
Okay.
Given the time frame of winter, we're starting to do the dirt work and winter's approaching, and that's always a downtime for construction. I'm sure all of you can help us with that, but it's always a very slow time, and that's going to drag things out.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Mayor?
Alderman Court.
I would move that we authorize you to sign the CDBG grant for the construction of the fire station at Reed Road.
Motion has been made to authorize the mayor to execute the CDBG grant for the construction of a fire station to be located on Reed Road and Highway 25 South. Alderman Corey, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Corey, do you wish to speak on the mayor's motion?
No.
Discussion. Discussion on Alderman Corey's motion. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next order of business is the discussion of an appointment of an ad hoc committee for the purpose of interviewing and recommending 5 elected commissioners for appointment by the Board of Aldermen in accordance with Mississippi Code, annotated section 23-15-221. I chuckled because I've got a feeling where this one might be going. I've tried in vain in the past with some of our appointments to establish committees to vet some of the applicants, and that has not been something that has been viewed favorably by the board. I trot this out there as an option. It is my preferred option. Reason being mainly that we have, I believe, 7 applicants. Ms. Outlaw, is that correct? 7 applicants, and if we're to go through a full interview process, I think it's both cumbersome and difficult to give a full and thorough review in the setting of a board meeting with the full board. I guess in looking at possible suggestions on how to proceed with this, a suggestion that received some positive sentiment in dealing with the city attorney's applicant pool at a work session last evening was possibly having a written rubric to narrow down the field and then conducting some interviews. However, with 5 positions, I guess we would be moving through 5 interviews. But however y'all would like to proceed, I'll facilitate that process. Y'all just give me the direction. Discussion.
Mayor, just for clarification now, this position's 4-year term, correct?
Right.
And it goes through until after the next municipal election, so that the election commissioners will basically be in responsible for helping conduct that election, as well as any elections between now and then, such as, say we have a bond vote or something, they would be responsible for it.
I believe so. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to be very repetitive. We spent a lot of time talking about this to some extent last night. Just very briefly, I think that the interview process with any position as to any city board or commission or as to the city attorney should be conducted by the entire board. We should devote and set aside the necessary time, whether it's a work session or whether it is a special call meeting to schedule interviews for applicants who desire to be in these positions. I do not think that we should set a precedent for a committee to interview these applicants and make a recommendation to the full board. These positions are extremely important, including that of the city attorney. I think each one of us should have the opportunity and benefit to personally appear and be present and ask whatever question that we deem necessary. We are accountable to the citizens of this city for these persons appointed. I think to best represent our constituency and the entire city would be to sit as a board as a whole to conduct the interviews of the election commissioners and the city attorney. And of course, things do change with different administrations, but it is my recollection there's been always the practice of prior administrations for the last 4 terms, to my recollection, that the full board has interviewed applicants for these positions, including that of the city attorney. So I would prefer, if personally, if we would just set aside time, it may be apart from a regular meeting, if that's a concern of our mayor or any other board member, we can have a special call meeting where we just take up nothing but these appointments and that of the city attorney, however the board wants to do it, but I don't think we need to have a committee to make a recommendation to us. So I'll yield the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Further discussion. Further discussion. I guess maybe to move this along, I should clarify what specifically I was asking for. I had envisioned a group of aldermen. It could be as small or as large as y'all determined, along with the city clerk who works most closely with the Elections Commission, to be established to make a recommendation to the board. And in the event that that is not the route you'd like to go, I guess the 2 remaining options, generally speaking, that I could see is some sort of written process to pare down the field. All of that doesn't seem to work as cleanly in this situation, since you have 7 applicants for 5 positions, or for the board to move forward conducting 7 interviews to fill the 5 positions. It's up to y'all. And at some point, I guess my feeling and the reason that I have and will continue to push this as an option, all of your time and intellectual capacity is eaten up by, as a group, going through a long and arduous interview processes. However, this is certainly a matter that is under your control, if you so wish to do it. Alderman Carter.
Mr. Mayor and Board, just due to personal time constraints, family issues, and with full faith of my fellow board members, I wish to remove myself from any kind of committee with this election process on the commission.
Alderman Sisbro.
I'd like to say that I truly trust the judgment of our Board of Aldermen, and if we have a group of 3 or more from the Board of Aldermen, I think that they could screen the candidates and do the interviewing for us. So I would like to move that we appoint an ad hoc committee of 3 and include, because of her office, city clerk, to conduct these interviews.
Motion has been made by Alderman Sistrunk to appoint an ad hoc committee of 3 people and the city clerk for the purpose of interviewing and recommending 5 elections commissioners for appointment by the Board of Aldermen in accordance with Mississippi Code, Section 23-15-221. Alderman Sistrunk, is that your motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Sistrunk, you wish to speak on the merits of your motion?
No, thank you.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Perkins.
the Alderwoman from Ward 2 said she wanted a committee of 3 and with the city clerk and who are the other 2 persons?
3 aldermen.
That's my question. I mean, who are the other persons? So if there's going to be a motion for a committee, I think the board's going to need to make it. My question is, who are going to be the other members on the committee other than the city clerk?
Further discussion?
I would like for Alderman Perkins to be one of the 3. Perhaps, I hate to appoint the committee myself, but perhaps Alderman Corey, because they have both been through that process before. And is there any interest amongst my other aldermen, Mr. Vaughn, Mr. Dumas?
Since
Perhaps, I didn't, I don't think I understood the inquiry that well.
The inquiry, Mr. Mayor, was simply that who are the other people that are going to be on the committee or it's being recommended to be on the committee other than the city clerk.
Okay, and the way it would proceed as the motion stands is you would adopt the committee structure first, and then we would actually select the committee next. But I guess I do understand now, as a practical matter, you might want to know who's on the committee before it's adopted. An amendment to that order would certainly be in order if somebody would like to make it.
Shall I? I'd like to amend it to suggest that as our senior members of the board, Alderman Perkins and Alderman Corey be part of the committee, and Alderman Vaughn.
Motion has been made to amend the original motion to specify that the 3 members of the committee be Alderman Perkins, Alderman Corey, and Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Sistrunk, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to amend the main motion. We'll now enter into a discussion on the merit of the amendment. Alderman Sistrunk, do you wish to speak on the merit of your motion? Is there any discussion? Discussion on Alderman Sistrunk's motion. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote. All those in favor of Alderman Sistrunk's amendment? Just to clarify, because we don't do this very often, this vote is on the amendment only. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The amendment passes. We will move back into a discussion on the main motion, which was Alderman Sistrunk's motion, which now reads as amended to reflect the 3 members of the ad hoc committee. Discussion. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote on the motion, which I will not reread as it has been sufficiently stated. Please answer yea, nay, or abstain as the deputy clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver?
Yay.
Alderman Sistrunk?
Yay.
Alderman Parker?
Yay.
Alderman Corey?
Yay.
Alderman Dumas?
Yay.
Alderman Perkins? Alderman Vaughn?
By a vote of 7 in favor with 0 against and 0 abstentions, this measure passes. Okay. We'll now move to board business. And the first matter on the board business agenda is the consideration of the approval of the special event permit for Bulldog Bash and the city's participation in the approximate amount of $9,966 using in-kind services. have stated my position on this earlier. I withheld comments generally about the event as you were speaking. I will echo the sentiment of some of the members of the board. This, of course, is a proud tradition of the Student Association. I certainly take a great deal of pride in being a part of once upon a time myself. I am glad that y'all have continued that tradition admirably in a way that should serve our community very well. Discussion.
Alderman Ford. I'd like to make a motion.
State your motion.
I would move that we approve the event permit for Bulldog Bash 2009, as well as provide the use of in-kind city services.
Motion has been made to approve the event permit as presented for Bulldog Bash 2009, as well as approving $9,966 and in-kind services to be provided by the city. Alderman Corey, is that your motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Corey, do you wish to speak on the merits of your motion?
Nope.
Any discussion? Is there any discussion on Alderman Corey's motion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Parker.
Well, is this something that as far as our 09 budgets that we have budgeted in these expenses and this overtime in our budget that we're currently in?
Well, that's an answer best given by the police chief. These are, well, it's not just police funding.
Right.
But as you see on the breakout,
Right.
the vast majority of it is police funding. Chief, would you like to speak to how this has been handled in the past and how a hit like this is absorbed by your budget?
Yes, sir. We do plan for these in advance on certain events we know that they're coming up, so we plan for those in the preparation of those. So that's what we should also.
And I guess to follow that up, as I stated at the outset, I do think, we discussed this in the staff meeting, I've discussed it with Alderman Perkins, a comprehensive review of how we handle in-kind services provided by for special events is in order. I think the best time to have that discussion is when there aren't pressing special events that have counted on this money in the past and are counting on it holding as it has in the past in the near future, directly approaching on the calendar. Discussion. Is there any further discussion on Alderman Ford's motion? Any further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Alderman Ford's motion, which I will not restate as it has been sufficiently stated. Please signify yea, nay, or abstain as the deputy clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver?
Yay.
Alderman Sistrunk?
Yay.
Alderman Parker?
Yay.
Alderman Corey?
Yay.
Alderman Dumas?
Yay.
Alderman Perkins?
Nay.
Alderman Vaughn?
Yay.
Next matter for consideration is the approval of the annual budget for the Mississippi State University for expenditure of the 2% funds authorized by HB 1833 and board resolution dated March 16, 2004. And I will make a comment or two as I visited with university personnel on the budget. I stated to them, of course, with the caveat that it's my opinion and I don't get a vote on these matters. But I have long held the opinion, again, dating back to my time as a student on campus advocating this issue in particular, that the most important function that the 2% funding that goes on campus to the students of Mississippi State University is that it is governed in accordance with the wishes of the student body. Indicated a will for us to look at how best to see to it that aim is fulfilled in the future. And I look forward to having discussions going forward on that. My position on that may differ from the position of others. I have always viewed this as a tax fairness issue. Plain and simply, if you look at how the 2% revenue is broken out, you will see very little that a student at Mississippi State stands to receive a direct benefit from. And as most of you are well aware, the students at Mississippi State, by virtue of their lifestyle, typically more dining out, pay mightily into the revenues for the 2% tax. And I think this is the best way for students to get a direct return on the 2% taxes. And I think they have demonstrated in the past, and hopefully will in the future, that they are serving the city quite well with this money as well. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of Mississippi State University's annual budget for fiscal year 2010 for their 2% funds expenditure in accordance with the enabling legislation.
Okay. Alderman Dumas has moved approval of the MSU 2009-2010 budget for the 2% funds as authorized and directed by House Bill 1833 of 2004 in the City of Starkville Board of Aldermen resolution dated March 16, 2004. Alderman Dumas, is that your motion?
That is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Dumas, do you wish to speak on the merits?
I do not.
Any discussion? Alderman Carter.
Mr. Mayor, is this a dollar figure or percentage? Is it going to be a 260,000 or the 40%?
That's an approximation, $260,000. With any sales tax generation, you don't know how much it actually is until the revenue comes in. Based on sales tax projections, that's the approximate amount of revenue they think they'll collect next year.
So it's a vote will be on the percentage, the 40%?
No.
Approximately.
No, they,
Oh,
may I be recognized?
Yes.
Gentleman from one, the Mississippi State University Student Association gets 20%.
20%.
So whatever we collect, they get 20%. And of course, just for further public information, the parks get 40%. The Visitor Convention Council gets 15%. Octavia Hall County Economic Development Authority gets 15%, and then the City of Starkville gets 10%.
And then what that is that's the approximation of what their 20% take. Further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll now move into a vote on Alderman Dumas' motion, which I will not restate. It's been sufficiently stated. Please answer yea, nay, or abstain as Deputy Clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver?
Yay.
Alderman Sistrunk?
Yay.
Alderman Parker?
Yay.
Alderman Corey?
Yay.
Alderman Dumas?
Yay.
Alderman Perkins?
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn?
By a vote of 7 in favor with 0 against and 0 abstentions, this measure clearly passes. All right, next order of business is the consideration of a hiring freeze as of August 5th, 2009 until December 31st, 2009 for the Police Department, Water and Landscape Division, the Public Services Department, the Electric Department, Street Department, and Fire Department as applicable to then currently vacant positions. All right, to cut through some of the confusingness of the wording, it's worded essentially to capture all of the positions that through discussions were determined could be frozen without working a serious, without working some of this is very serious, I guess is why I hesitate to do that. These positions could be frozen without grinding anything to a halt, essentially, was the way the discussion proceeded. And that wording, while not extremely precise, is intended to reflect what the department heads in a roundtable discussion indicated they could keep the ship floating on. And also, I guess I should add that in order to proceed with the budget option that was previously adopted, this has to be approved. So it's, I hesitate to say formality, but if we're going to proceed with that option, it needs to be done.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city implement a hiring freeze as of August 5, 2009 through December 31, 2009 for the police department, water and landscape division of the public services department, electric department, street department, and fire department as applicable to the then currently vacant positions.
Motion has been made by Alderman Perkins that the city implement a hiring freeze as of August 5th, 2009 until December 31st, 2009 for the police department, water and landscape division of the public services department, electric department, street department, and the fire department as applicable to then currently vacant positions. Alderman Perkins, is that your motion?
That is, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Alderman Perkins, do you wish to speak on the merits of the
No,
motion?
sir, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion. Any discussion on the motion? Discussion, seeing none. We'll now move into a vote on the motion, which I will not restate as it has been sufficiently stated. Please answer yea, nay, or abstain as the deputy clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver?
I thought we were gonna mix this up.
You start
Exactly
now.
what I thought.
Yay.
Alderman Perkins?
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn?
Yay.
Alderman Dumas?
Yay.
Alderman Corey?
Yay.
Alderman Parker?
Yay.
Alderman Sistrunk?
Yay.
Alderman Carver?
Yay.
By a vote of 7 in favor with 0 against and 0 abstentions, this measure passes. Next order of business is the consideration of the approval of the health carrier for the city of Starkville for the fiscal year 2010, effective October 1st, 2009 to September 30th, 2010. And this is a matter that was discussed at some length in the work session yesterday. Ms. Outlaw, you gave me a copy of the matter that seemed to get the most, or the option that seemed to get the most positive sentiment yesterday. Does everybody else have that?
No.
Okay. I guess the best way to do this, maybe if you just gave a brief explanation of the option that was both your recommendation and seemed to get a positive review at the work session.
The option that we went over yesterday that seemed to be most favorable to the board was the option 2 from Blue Cross Blue Shield, where there was a $500 deductible, 80/20 co-insurance, $2,000 out of pocket, doctor copay of $25 and $40. That's a general practitioner and a specialist, with the balance being paid at 80/20. The single rate was $304.88. The family rate was $856.76. Then the Humana Dental was the lowest, at a single rate being $19.06 and a being $61.81, and the Humana Life was lowest, being $4.30. And that was the consensus around the work session, which was option 2 from Blue Cross Blue Shield and Humana Care and Dental and Life.
Mr. Mayor, one question to the clerk. Explain what you mean by voluntary vision. Just articulate that very briefly.
Well, the voluntary vision was, it's going to be strictly employee, they pay for their own vision. And those amounts I got from Tim this morning or later on today, that really did not cover a whole lot. The premium was going to be right at $7 for the employees and around $20 for the family.
So you recommend the voluntary vision?
No.
You're not?
No.
Okay, just for Humana, you just dental?
Humana
and life.
Dental and Humana Life. Mhm.
And for one more clarification, the Humana Dental rate will remain the same.
No, it did increase, but it was still less than Blue Cross. Humana Dental went up, I want to say it was about 50 cents. It went to $19.06 for a single and $61.81 for the family, which went up about $3.
And anticipating that this, in the event that you choose to act, is going to be a cumbersome matter to move, something that may be helpful is the city clerk has reduced this proposal to writing. Obviously, a motion has to come from the board. I'll be glad to circulate that if somebody wants to view it.
I got it, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, you've got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Alderman Perkins.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I recommend approval of option 2, the Blue Cross Blue Shield Mississippi as the city of Starkville health plan carrier for the 2009-2010 fiscal year, and Humana Insurance as the carrier for the city of Starkville's dental and life. Is that correct, City Clerk?
Okay, motion has been made by Alderman Perkins to approve option 2 of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi as the city of Starkville's health plan carrier for the 2009-2010 fiscal year, and Humana Insurance Company as carrier for the city of Starkville's dental and life. Alderman Perkins, is that your motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Perkins, do you wish to speak on the merits of the motion?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote on the motion made by Alderman Perkins, which I will not reread as it has been reduced to writing, has been sufficiently stated. Please signify by saying yea, nay, or abstain as the deputy clerk calls your name.
Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Dumas.
Yay.
Alderman Corey.
Yay.
Alderman Parker.
Yay.
Alderman Sistrunk.
Yay.
Alderman Carver.
Yay.
By a vote of 7 in favor with 0 against and 0 abstentions, this measure passes. Next order of business is the consideration of the approval of an amendment to the budget for the 2% funds for the Park Commission. And that, I don't think, needs much of an introduction, as Mr. Moreland provided a sufficient input earlier. Discussion? Is there any discussion? Alderman Parker.
Mayor, I move approval of the budget amendment for the Park Commission in the amount of $32,640.36 for the purpose of paying Maloof Construction and Schaefer Associates for change orders related to the sportsplex.
All right, motion's been made by Alderman Parker to approve the budget amendment for the Parks Commission in the amount of $32,640.36 for the purpose of paying Maloof Construction and Schaefer Associates for change orders related to the sportsplex. Alderman Parker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Alderman Parker, do you wish to speak on the merits of the motion?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote on Alderman Parker's motion, which I will not reread as it's been sufficiently stated. Please answer yea, nay, or abstain as Deputy Clerk calls your name.
Alderman Sistrunk.
Yay.
Alderman Parker.
Yay.
Alderman Corey.
Yay.
Alderman Dumas.
Yay.
Alderman Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
Alderman Carver.
Yay.
By a vote of 7 in favor with 0 against and 0 abstentions, this measure passes. Next matter of business is the consideration of the approval of the contract for the City of Starkville, the contract with Starkville Recycling for the receipt of City of Starkville recycling materials. And you have on your desk the most recent version of that contract, which is the result of contract negotiations that have been ongoing between the city attorney, the chief administrative officer, and Mr. Sturgeon. Do any of the parties involved in the contract negotiations wish to say anything? Is everybody okay with the terms? Mr. Sturgeon? Okay. Discussion.
I've got a few questions.
Alderman Dewey.
I see that the new contract is striped glass. Is there do you have any plans of getting glass, the
Yes,
capability?
Yes, that's one thing, we're not saying no to it this time, but with the economics or the eligibility of getting rid of it, it's hard to do, and we're working on that. We have the
Okay.
equipment to recycle, and we're hoping by the first year we can.
Can't do that.
That's what our plans are, and we would like at that time be able to add it to this.
Okay. And the monthly report that will be provided, will that include, what all will that include? So it will include a breakout of commodity by weight and how much was recycled.
Right.
Does that report include a destination of commodity? So where those commodities are going?
We can, if that's necessary.
Okay.
I mean, what way we do our material, we get truckload quantities, and when we have a truckload that's ready, we put it out for bid to different brokers.
Okay.
To different places.
Just different places.
And some brokers, they'll send trucks out there, and we'll truck their own self, and sometimes, you don't ever know if it's going warehouse and moving on to another
Okay.
destination.
But that's pretty easy to include in that report.
Right.
Okay.
Further discussion. Alderman Vaughn.
Mr. Mayor, I move the approval of the contract with the Starkville Recycling and the City Recycling Program with the organization of the mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve the contract with Starkville Recycling for receipt of the City of Starkville recycling materials as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the manager's motion?
No, sir.
Discussion. Discussion on Alderman Vaughn's motion. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying yea.
Yea.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. All right. Next matter for consideration is the approval of the contract with budget for the rental of office space. Oh, I'm sorry. The next matter for consideration is the appointment of members to the Starkville Housing Authority and Starkville Solid Waste and Recycling. Give me just a second. What was in your original packet is a request from Dr. James Smith to be reappointed to the Housing Authority. I believe his request to be reappointed speaks for itself. He has served well and wishes to continue serving on the Housing Authority. Now, we do have some requests, at least one request, and we have two requests to be involved on the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. And those are
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Carter.
I think it's a typo in the one from Tennyson O'Donnell. His name is Ty O'Donnell, but he is an alderman. He is a Ward 1 constituent, not a Ward 4.
Yes. Okay. We have one request to be appointed onto the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee from Ward 1, resident Tennyson O'Donnell. And then we also have a request to be appointed to the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee from Ward 4, resident Nick Wilson. These were, I guess, combined on the agenda for the sake of clarity. I would ask that y'all took each matter separately, that being the matter of the Housing Authority first and then Recycling Committee. Alderman Gore.
Mayor, I move that we approve James Smith back to the position on the Starkville Housing Authority.
Second.
Motion has been made to reapprove Dr. James Smith to the Housing Authority. Alderman Corey, is that your motion?
It is.
Did I hear a second? Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Corey, do you wish to speak on the merits of your motion?
No.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote on the motion, which I will not restate as it's been sufficiently stated. All those in favor, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. This measure clearly passes.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the appointment of Dr. Tennyson O'Donnell and Nick Wilson to the Starkville Solid Waste Recycling, or Solid Waste and Recycling Committee.
Now, Alderman Dumas has made a motion to approve the appointment of Tennyson O'Donnell as the Ward 1 representative on the Starkville Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, and the appointment of Nick Wilson as the Ward 4 representative on the City of Starkville Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. Alderman Dumas, is that your motion?
That is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Dumas, do you wish to speak on the merits of your motion?
Do not.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter of business is the consideration of the appointment of board liaisons to various standing committees and commissions of the city. I sent out an email last week, I guess, noting our commissions that in the past have had a board liaison where a position is currently vacant, and also added one that has not previously had a liaison, but given recent discussions, I thought a liaison might be in order. Is that one being the Starkville Park Commission. The committees and commissions that have had liaisons previously that currently have vacancies are the Oktibbeha County Heritage Museum, the Starkville Commission on Disability, the City of Starkville Beautification Committee, and the City of Starkville Sidewalk Committee. The responses of interest that I received from y'all were Eric Parker indicated a willingness to serve as a liaison for the Starkville Park Commission. Sandra Sistruck indicated a willingness to serve as the liaison for the Starkville Commission on Disability. And Jeremiah Dumas indicated a willingness to serve on the City of Starkville Sidewalk Committee. Now, one last note before we move into discussion. In the event that there are a couple of you that want to serve as liaisons, that as far as I'm concerned, would be nothing but positive. If only one of you want to serve, that's fine too. This is a communication medium, so my opinion is the more communication, the better. Discussion. Alderman Court.
I just would like to state my interest in being reappointed as liaison to the museum. The museum is in my ward, and it's one that I've had the pleasure of serving with for the last 3 years. And really enjoyed working with them.
Maybe we don't have the vacancy. Is there some
Beautification.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my thought is there wouldn't be any need to reappoint if you're still here. Is there a policy or an ordinance where I'm missing something?
I don't know if those carry over from term to term. but it couldn't hurt to reappoint.
Okay, that sounds fine. All right, further discussion? Further discussion? All right, as it stands right now, the suggestions that I've got are Alderman Corey for the Heritage Museum, Alderman Parker for the Parks Commission, Alderman Sistrunk for the Commission on Disability. The City Beautification Committee still needs a liaison, and Alderman Dumas for the Sidewalk Committee.
Just as a point of interest, if no one else is interested, I don't have a problem serving on the Beautification Committee. I've worked with Richard Molnax in the past, and I'm certainly willing to grit my teeth and do it again.
All right, further discussion?
I think I'd like to serve on that committee with Richard. Since Richard is in my ward. But I'd like to be the co-liaison.
Further discussion? And seeing as I might, Alderman Parker.
Can I make some motions?
Yes.
I move approval of Richard Corey to serve as the City of Starkville's board liaison to the Heritage Museum Committee, or board. And I also, and Sandra Sistrunk to the Disability Commission, and Jeremiah Dumas to the Sidewalk Committee, and Richard Corey to the Beautification Committee, and Eric Parker to the Parks and Recreation.
Is that the extent of your motion?
Me on beautification.
And you know what? After, I'd also like to on the beautification. I think I'd like co-chairs with Richard Corey and Jeremiah Dumas.
Alderman Parker has made a motion to appoint the following liaisons to the following committees. Alderman Corey to the Oktibbeha County Heritage Museum, Alderman Parker to the Starkville Park Commission, Alderman Sistrunk to the Commission on Disability, Alderman Corey and Dumas to the City of Starkville Beautification Committee, and Alderman Dumas to the Sidewalk Committee. Alderman Parker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Parker, do you wish to speak on the merits of the motion?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.
Solid waste, and we'll be bringing to the board new bylaws that incorporate our new task of incorporating solid waste with the recyclable. So again, the recycling program will start October 7th. So.
All right. Any questions or comments for Alderman Parker? Discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. Next order of business is the consideration of the approval of a budget amendment for the City of Starkville fiscal year 2009. And you have in your packet a summary of changes included in that proposed budget amendment. And to give you a little, background about this process and what it means, of course, we are in the process of approving an annual budget now. As the year progresses, the city clerk's office processes the actual spending of those funds, and as the year moves on, the sometimes line items are not covering the expenditures that are in the budget. The city clerk's office does follow up regularly with department heads as to why the line items don't cover everything in any given situation. And then in the event where monies have to be moved from one place to another in the budget, the city clerk's office compiles an amendment for our discussion. It is a lot of information to process. I had a conversation with Ms. Clark this afternoon, and I believe it is Ms. Clark's opinion that nothing that is in this proposed amendment is out of the ordinary for budget amendment. Is that correct, Ms. Clark? Is there any discussion? Any discussion on the proposed budget amendment? Alderman Corey.
Mayor and Board, I would move approval of the budget amendment as presented.
Alderman Corey has moved approval of the proposed budget amendment as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Corey, do you wish to speak on the mayor's motion?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Alderman Corey's motion, which I will not restate. It's sufficiently stated. Please answer yea, nay, as the deputy clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carter?
Yay.
Alderman Sistra?
Yay.
Did you say yay?
Yay.
Alderman Parker?
Yay.
Alderman Corey?
Yay.
Alderman Dumas?
Yay.
Alderman Perkins?
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn?
Yay.
All right, next matter for consideration is the directing of the street department to prepare the parking lot at the Gillespie Center on behalf of the Parks Commission. I have had some discussion with the Chief Administrative Officer on this matter. I think probably the best introduction will be provided by the Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. The Park Commission has, the parking lot at the Gillespie Street Center has been damaged by the sanitation trucks, and Ms. Boyd and I have talked about it. In particular, she's going to change the size of the truck that will be collecting the garbage over there. It's backed up, and the asphalt has been damaged, and it's in such a way that it's going to need to be smoothed out and asphalt laid again, with the hope that with the smaller truck, that asphalt will remain intact. If not, Matthew had said at one point in time they were looking at putting concrete there. This in particular is a request of the Park Commission that the City Street Department will assist, and the reason it's before the board is obviously because the city does not control the parking lot, but is that under the purview of the Park Commission, but in this instance thought that it might be something the board would entertain. So that's the reason for the request. I don't have an estimate on the cost. It would be done in-house using the street department and our normal patching crew, and hopefully that could be done fairly quickly and simply.
Does that mean that the Park Commission would provide the materials for the repair?
I doubt that they have hot mix, but we could certainly check with them and see. The city gets a load of hot mix. In fact, I believe Mr. Black said that they were getting some today to patch some of the holes that came up in the various streets related to the recent weather that we've had. Of course, it always creates some damage to some of our older streets. So they were out patching potholes today.
It's really bad. I've gone out and looked at it.
It is bad.
I would then move approval of the request to direct the street department to work towards the repair of the parking lot at the Gillespie Street Center.
Second. Alderman Corey has moved to approve the directing of the street department to repair the parking lot at the Gillespie Street corner on behalf of the Parks Commission. Alderman Corey, is that your motion?
It is.
I believe the motion was seconded by Alderman Perkins.
Disagree.
Alderman Corey, do you wish to speak on the merit of your motion?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Next matter on the agenda is the consideration of the adopting of a resolution declaring an emergency situation concerning a wastewater force main failure. And I think the best person to introduce this matter is Ms. Phyllis Benton.
Good evening once again. Can I real quick publicly say I would like to thank your fire chief and his staff in assisting me with the grant application for the fire department, or for the new fire station. They went above and beyond the call of duty in helping me, and I'd like to say thank you, and I look forward to working with them and you on that project. I once again want to share with you my enthusiasm for that project. You know, the Planning and Development District serves 7 counties and 20 municipalities, and you were the only project out of our 27 governmental entities that was selected to even submit an application. So pat yourselves on the back, you know. With that, there is that old saying, be careful what you wish for. The mayor has a copy of the grant agreement. This is stimulus money. We've already been told that the Office of Inspector General will be watching Mississippi like a hawk. And as the media has heard me say before, I am too young to retire, but too old to be marketable, so we're going to have to work really hard to make sure that we do this correctly. I'll be coming to you within the next few board meetings with a lot of resolutions, a lot of items to address. We have to have this project under contract within 120 days. So it's going to have to put wings on it. We're going to have to fly. The environmental review process is underway. Hopefully you will be receiving a letter of notification that you're environmentally cleared within the next few weeks. And we will be receiving proposals for architectural services. So with that being said, now that something good has happened with that, something unfortunate has happened, and that is the force main that takes the wastewater to your treatment facility has sprung a leak. Your city staff has done the best they can to put a Band-Aid on the situation, but it is indeed just that. It is a Band-Aid, which will hold you for right now, but not for very long. The only funding opportunity that we have right now to obtain grant money to resolve this problem is the Community Development Block Grant Emergency category. You will be eligible for up to $100,000. We have completed the first 2 steps in obtaining that money, and that is you've passed a resolution authorizing the Planning and Development District to submit an application. The second step is under the mayor's signature. We've sent a letter to the Mississippi Development Authority requesting permission to submit an application along with a cost estimate. And right now, I haven't heard anything back, and I don't know if you have as of today, Mayor. Hopefully, we will be hearing within the next few days, but as part of the application process, you do have to declare this situation an emergency. I have prepared a resolution that you should have in front of you, which will cover that need. It will be part of the application. It will allow you to forego the regular procurement process that we generally have to follow whenever we're using federal funds. You as the city and your engineer will be able to negotiate a contract to obtain the best bid that they will for these necessary repairs. So, are there any questions?
Any questions, comments?
Any idea what the total cost will be?
It's around $250,000. I don't have that cost estimate with me, but
So the under 150 will be self-funded through the city?
correct.
Is any of that covered by Mississippi State? Since that's a shared facility?
Yeah, a portion of it is.
Portion of it is?
Based
Okay.
on the interlocal.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I move approval that we adopt the resolution declaring an emergency situation concerning the wastewater force main failure.
Alderman Dumas has moved approval of the resolution of the City of Starkville declaring an emergency situation concerning the wastewater force main failure as presented. Alderman Dumas, is that your motion?
That is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying yea.
Yea.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Thank you, Ms. Benson.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, very briefly before Ms. Benson leaves, Ms. Benson, I want to likewise commend you for your immaculate assistance. I remember when you brought this back to the former board, I think we met that day up at the courthouse in the courtroom, and you're to be commended because the city of Starkville would not have gotten that grant for the new fire station without your assistance, and that really was great news to all of us at the time. And hopefully, we'll be getting more grants like that, and we really appreciate all their assistance. And that was lock and key, I think, about $938,000. That's very important to the city. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. I look forward to working with you.
Glad to have you in Ward 5.
Pardon?
Glad to have you in Ward 5.
Great. Well, I'm a very competitive grant writer. There's just something about that, being able to go, yes, once you receive that award notice. But, also as a resident of Starkville, that just makes it that much sweeter. So,
good.
Thank you.
All right, next matter on the agenda is the consideration of a process for selecting a city attorney. And per the general sentiment that was expressed at the work session yesterday, the Human Resources Director has prepared a potential score sheet for the candidates in the applicant pool for city attorney in the event that the board might choose to pare down the field before conducting interviews. If the board goes that route, I guess potential things that I need to know so we can move forward, and I guess a potential outline is we need a date when the forms need to be back into the office. A potential date might be a week from today, for instance. And at that point, we need to know what number you'd like the field pared down to. For instance, would it be the top 3 scores? Would it be the top 4? How you'd like to proceed on that? I guess that's all initially. Of course, however you'd like to do it. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, once it gets pared down, let's say to 3, for example, do you suggest that full board interview the remaining 3, or what's your recommendation once it's pared down?
It seems to me that that's the way pretty much everybody was interested in going.
That's what I thought.
It was discussed last night. So in the event, of course, all of that is just a general discussion informationally. In the event that that's the way you choose to act, the things I need to know is when we can expect the forms back into the office so that we can tabulate the scores and then report back to you who the top candidates were, and also know the number of candidates that you want included in the pared down pool.
Mr. Mayor, since I have been recognized, I think that next Tuesday would be reasonable. This is a very important position. Tuesday next week, which would be the 8th of September, probably by the end of the working day. And just me personally, I guess with 6 applicants, probably get narrowed down to 3. But that's just my suggestion. Others may differ.
Further discussion.
You got some motions in order to adopt this? A motion needs to be on.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, we need a motion before we can go anywhere with it.
I move that we utilize the evaluation form that we, the board, well, let me stop that motion. I've got a general question. I like Alderman Perkins' idea of Tuesday night, but I guess logistically and chronologically, we need to we have to prepare candidates for interviews. Or is that when you're wanting to interview, or is that when you're wanting to, that's when you want us to get together and discuss the top three?
I was just saying that we get our forms. I think the mayor wanted to know when we get the forms. I was just saying we should have the forms in by the end of the working day on Tuesday next week.
Oh, so not get the forms until Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I guess I should have provided a little more thought as to my proposed timeline in the introduction. I'm anticipating that a work session will be in order to discuss the remainder of the budget outside of the general fund next Tuesday. So if you put it on that timeline, it's conceivable that y'all would be able to evaluate where the field stood next week in additional step.
And I guess to continue that, I think that it's, I personally think it's possible to go through these applications and look at these, use this form and to evaluate and have my top three by Tuesday of next week. And so then using that as a discussion point for which candidates to bring in for the interview process after that point. Is that something what you
maybe
Oh, yes.
So I guess then to put, go ahead.
To clear some potential ambiguity, I'm worried about on your statement. The impression that I would have had where the discussion was going was that every candidate was going to be rated, and then we would combine the scores from everybody on every candidate and take the top three. I guess what you just said led me to believe that you might only rank a top three.
No. I want to personally use this form to evaluate every candidate that we have right now. Then come together Tuesday night, like you're saying. We've got similar. We're talking about the same thing. So I guess as a motion, I move that we utilize this form, evaluate I move approval to establish Tuesday, September 8th by 5 p.m. as the deadline for receipt of evaluation forms, and that the full board will review the forms and determine the best three.
Alderman Divins has made a motion which has been reduced to writing by the deputy clerk. I will not reread it as it has been sufficiently stated. Is there a second to Alderman Divins' motion?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Alderman Divins, do you wish to speak on the merit of the motion?
I do not.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. This measure clearly passes.
Mayor.
Alderman Court.
Do you and the board want to consider then, if we're going to have the top three by next Tuesday, then having the interviews before the meeting on the 15th, much like we did the first go-around this term?
So
that would give the top three candidates a week to know from next Tuesday till the meeting after that they would be needed for an interview.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was thinking. But that's the type of thing, and maybe a question for the city attorney. That's not really an action, I guess, to set the interview time. Would you be okay at a work session? I guess maybe it would be an action pairing the candidates down.
Not really. I don't think that constitutes an action.
Okay.
Just the interview.
I think the selection of whoever you finally select is the action. How you get there is just how you want to do it.
Okay. So that was, I guess, my thought was we get it in, and at this potential work session next Tuesday, y'all get a report of the scores and reach some consensus on how to proceed with interviews.
That's fine, but if you're going to be at a work session next Tuesday and we decide we want to have the interviews before the meeting, then a motion would be necessary to have the board meet early on that day. So, and you can't do that in a work session.
Yeah, I guess if you wanted to have the meeting at a different time, that would certainly be something.
Mr. Mayor, the gentleman from Ford is correct. You can have a motion to recess until the time certain. If that's the will of the board, that's an option. That's all I'm saying. Yes, sir.
Further discussion?
If we gave 30 minutes to each candidate like we did last time, then we could conceivably meet at 4 on the 15th. Well, 3:30 or 4, one of those two time periods. You know, that would give us, we could assign 30 minutes to each candidate, assuming we have 3.
Alderman Carver?
I believe I was mistaken last time in giving 30 minutes. I think 15 would be sufficient for each one. I think we ran 9 to 12 minutes. I kept with it. So 15 minutes, we could condense that into a 45-minute block. An hour total would be sufficient time for, if you want to say 20 minutes apiece, that seems to be plenty of time. We've got a basic set of questions.
Further discussion?
So along those lines then, following what Alderman Carver said, if we decide to re-adjourn at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, that could give us an hour, 20 minutes each to interview the 3 candidates. And then at 5, we could adjourn until the meeting at 5:30.
So I guess the question would be whether you want to have a special call, whether you'd want to make it a work session, whether you'd want to make it a part of the regularly scheduled meeting.
It could be just, we could, when we get to the end of tonight's meeting, we could, when we recess, we could recess till 4 o'clock on Tuesday on the 15th for the purposes of conducting those interviews. And then, you know, just like we can take breaks within here at 5 o'clock when we're done, you know, we can take a 30-minute break and then resume the meeting at 5:30.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. Next matter on the agenda is the request for approval of the claims document as of August 27, 2009.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Carter.
due to the fact that the fire department's still not broken out of this claims docket, I'm asked to recuse myself on this matter and not be outside this door.
Okay.
City clerk, everything needs to be paid.
That's correct.
And it's legal, right?
And it's legal.
Just pick on the clerk. No, Mr. Mayor, just pick on the clerk. She's good. Go ahead.
The claims docket ending August 28, 2009 for the city is $819,014.38, and for the electric department it's $4,098,129.53. Of that, the TVA power bill was $3,008,991.55, bringing our total claims for the August 28 ending period of $4,917,143.91. And I recommend the board approve these payments.
Move approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve the claims docket as of August 27, 2009 as written, or as presented. And I believe the motion has been seconded by Alderman Corey. Alderman Perkins, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Outlaw. All right. Next matter on the agenda is a closed session for the determination of whether there's a need to move into executive session. Prior to moving into that closed session, or I guess while we transition into that closed session, without objection, I will move us into a brief recess.
Mr. Mayor, just for the record, so next Tuesday night on September the 8th, we're going to be here. We're going to meet, planning zone will be in the conference room for the budget work session, right?
Yeah, we hadn't gotten there yet. I'll tell you what, before we move to that closed session, if the alderman wish to take that topic up now, might be an appropriate time.
I was just asking.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we have a work session next Tuesday at 5:30. Obviously, if y'all have any sort of commitment, I'm open to any suggestion you may have, but will state, I think, as was stated at the work session last night by the clerk's office, that a work session for the determination of the rest of the budget is gonna be necessary.
And planning and zoning, I believe, will be in this room, so we'll be in the conference room with us. Yeah, they meet the second, is that the first Tuesday, or second Tuesday next week? Second Tuesday, that's right, second Tuesday. Yeah, planning and zoning will be here, so we can go to the conference.
Okay, and I don't, do we have to take any official action on the work session?
No, we just make everybody aware of the
Yeah,
public.
hey, this is just a good place for us to discuss it in case there's conflicts. If I don't hear any dissent on it, then we'll just plan on having a work session next Tuesday at 5:30. Okay, any objection to that? All right, at this point, without objection, I'm gonna move us into a brief recess, prepare for closed session.